If you enjoy what you hear here today, please consider supporting me on my Patreon page. Every dollar helps, and you get to see content that you won't see here. Chapter 2: The Equestrian Hive. The Equestrian Hive. An enormous structure built into an underground cave system. This system even had its own underground river running through it, providing fresh, clean water to any pony who may stumble upon it. The natural formations had structures built within, the architecture being made from a mossy brick substance with another material akin to chitin lining it, giving the hive an organic feel. In the 8 years since its initial settlement, many more tunnels had been excavated and expansions made, growing from only a hoofful of occupants from the destroyed Badlands Hive to now well over 100,000 drones living within its walls. The underground city was spread out in all directions, and this is the place Queen Twilight Sparkle called home. The Queen herself was sitting comfortably at a table in the beating heart of her hive, the atrium. The vast space had been modeled after the one in the now destroyed Badlands Hive, and Twilight had previously called that place home, until Queen Draco had put an end to that. Still, that was 8 years ago. Now, Twilight couldn't help but marvel at how far they had come in so little time. The atrium spanned deep into the ground, going many floors down into the earth. A double-backed staircase sat at the back to allow ground travel, though most drones preferred to fly from one floor to the next. Each floor combined various changeling-run establishments, from restaurants to even a spa, something Rarity always liked to frequent in her visits to the hive. And then, in the center of it all, a magnificent beam of light pierced directly upwards to a large, open hole in the ceiling, displaying the day's bright blue sky in all its glory, as Celestia's sun moved along through it. From the surface, the large gap wouldn't seem to exist. Instead, viewers would see the land stretching out constantly, with the rest of the terrain, and would even be solid to stand on, disguised by a mixture of shield and illusion magic, just as the atrium of the Badlands Hive had done. All of this magic, and the beam of light, originated from one source, a golden-colored crystal, donated to the Equestrian Hive by Princess Celestia as a housewarming gift. The crystal itself was held aloft jointly in the hooves of Queen Avia and Queen Chrysalis, the statues of mother and daughter, and Twilight's grandmother and mother, smiled lovingly out on their subjects as they kept the magic protecting the atrium going strong at all times. It was this statue Twilight couldn't help but stare down at from her table outside one of the atrium's restaurants. And she wasn't alone. "Bit for your thoughts?" Spike asked. As Twilight looked towards the purple and green dragon, he gave the changeling queen a supportive smile, his eyes almost being level with hers. Spike was easily the size of Princess Luna, his leathery wings folded to his sides. They had often joked that he would soon be too large to fit into the hive, but that was still a long way off. Twilight examined the rest of her companions. Also sitting around the table with their ruler were the changelings Cardus, Twilight's former guard captain, along with his wife and daughter, Panacea and Juvenis. Also seated with them were two sisters, Saronis and Puelula, the only survivors of Queen Vespula's hive, who had joined Twilight 8 years ago, just after the loss of the Badlands Hive. As Twilight lingered on them, she couldn't help but note just how much Puelula and Juvenis had grown. It seemed only yesterday they had been mere nymphs. Now, Juvenis was 16 years old as Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie when Twilight had first met them at the Summer Sun celebration all those years ago. And Puelula herself was 14 years of age, being 2 years younger than her best friend. The final changeling sitting at the table was Scorpion, Cardus' successor as captain of Queen Twilight's royal guard. Scorpion had actually been a member of Queen Draco's hive before her death, A member of her guard, but one who was always stuck at a low rank due to his questioning of Crudellis' choices over the years. Upon her death, he had quickly reorganized the guard to keep the civilians from panicking, and was their de facto leader before their integration into Twilight's Hive. His skills were past that of simply guarding a door, and his newfound loyalty to Queen Twilight was strong. That, and his promotion to captain of the Royal Guard strengthened the bond between the once enemy hives. "Hello?" Spike called out, waving a claw in front of the Queen's face. "Equus to Twilight. You in there?" Twilight chuckled.
"Sorry, Spike. I was just thinking."
"Thinking, eh?" he said. "Well, thinking you harder, and the others might think you were 1,000 years old rather than a mere 28.
"Oh, hush, you cheeky dragon."
She gave him a playful slap on the snout.
"If you truly must know. I was just thinking about us. How far we've come."
"It's certainly impressive," Scorpion stated. 8 years ago, we were at war. Now we share the second largest hive in existence. Not an easy feat."
"No, it wasn't,"
Twilight agreed.
"A lot of people's blood, sweat, and tears got us here. It wasn't just me."
A good thing your pony parents were loaded enough to buy the land," Scorpion stated with a smirk. "You realize Celestia gave them the money for it, right?" Cardus spoke up. "They're only of minor nobility. They normally wouldn't have had anywhere near the amount of money." "Really?" Scorpion questioned. "My queen, you never mentioned that. You should really tell me the whole story one of these days."
"Nothing much to tell,"
the Changeling Queen stated.
"Mostly just the pony nobility bickering for hours on end."
The Changeling snorted. "Well, then I take it back. I don't want to hear it." "How are your parents anyway, Twilight?" Cardus asked. "You haven't visited them in a while."
"No, I've been far too busy,"
Twilight sadly noted.
"But we still exchange letters. They're doing well. Jenny visited them a few weeks back with Flurry Heart, though Cadence was caught up in her duties at the Crystal Empire."
Palula put down the drink she was consuming and nudged her sister with an elbow.
"Hey, Saronis, we should take a visit to the Crystal Empire at some point. It's been too long since we were back there."
Uvenus glanced at her friend incredulously.
"Aren't the majority of your memories there being stuck in a cramped wine cellar?" "Yes," she admitted. "Until we were found and taken to the palace. It was those events that led us here. That, and I'm rather hoping Princess Cadence will allow me to take some love directly from the heart again." "Pew!"
Saronis scolded.
"What?"
Saronis rolled her eyes.
"If you want some of the heart's love, all you need to do is visit the reservoir. We've only just got a shipment from the Crystal Empire, so there's plenty to have. But it never tastes as good as when it's fresh from the heart itself."
Palula protested.
"Come on, sis, you know that as well as I do." "True," Saronis admitted. "But it's still a sacred artifact. We only fed from it once because we were starving. I doubt she'd let us do it again barring extreme circumstances." "Well," Queen Twilight twirled a hoof, "she does consider you both personal friends like I do, so she might, no, definitely would let you."
"Your Highness, please don't encourage her," Saronis pleaded with a sigh.
"Children will be children,"
said Panacea with a small smile.
"Hey, I'm not a kid,"
Palula protested.
"I'm 14. Teen being the key part of that word. Teenager."
Chuckles spread around the table at Palula's puffed-up cheeks, causing the young changeling to pout in annoyance. Twilight Sparkle glanced upwards towards the sun, seeing it beginning its descent in the sky.
"Well, duty calls," the Queen stated. "With Draco visiting tomorrow, I've got some extra work I need to catch up on."
"You never said why Queen Draco was visiting," Cardus said with curiosity. "Is it just a social call or something else?"
"She didn't say,"
Twilight said as she got up, stretching her wings out as she did so. Twilight turned away from the table, viewing the rest of the atrium. Her gaze momentarily rested on the statue of Avia and Chrysalis, before moving over everything else. The atrium was quiet at the present time. A hoof full of drones and one family of ponies visiting from Equestria were moving about, but not much else. On the average day, the atrium would be packed from dawn until dusk, but apparently not that particular day. Spike also got up from his seat and stood behind the Changeling Queen. "Your number one assistant is ready when you are," he stated. She smiled, giving one last nod to the rest of her companions, and then spread her gossamer wings. They all watched her depart, Spike not far behind her. The doors to the throne room opened as Queen Twilight and her draconic assistant briskly walked on through. The line of changeling guards in blue armor all bowed as the Queen walked down the dark purple carpet leading up to the throne. Like the rest of the Hive, the throne room was crafted with the brick and organic chitin seen throughout the rest of the structure. But unlike the rest of the Hive, the throne room had a dark-colored marble for the flooring, with alcoves in the walls that had black and green banners hanging down, with Twilight's cutie mark displayed for all to see. The hall was vast and brightly lit, a large chandelier hanging from the ceiling with blue arcane flames burning magnificently within it. Guards lined the carpet leading to the seat of Twilight's power that sat at the very end. The throne was a large and menacing seat made from obsidian, the very same throne that Queen Chrysalis had once used. The throne had been recovered from the Badlands Hive and repaired, Queen Twilight taking it as her own with her cutie mark having been installed onto the backrest, much like the throne she used as a mere princess. As Twilight gracefully lowered herself into her throne, the friend that sat at the table in the atrium vanished. Her features became stoic and reserved, completely emotionless as Chrysalis was during her life as she sat on her own throne. When Twilight sat on that throne, the Twilight Sparkle raised by ponies and bearing the element of magic went away, and the Changeling Queen who forced an arrow into Crudelis's eye socket came out to play. The sight of her and the loyal dragon sitting by her side was enough to give many a dignitary a shiver down their spine, and had caused fear in any who did not know the mare beneath.
"All right. Spike, are there any who seek an audience this day?"
the Queen asked. "No," he responded, "though in 2 days' time Prince Blueblood of Equestria has requested an audience, though there is another matter."
"And that is?"
"A few guards caught one of the ponies visiting the Hive stealing." Queen Twilight's eyes narrowed.
"Thievery? Where and when?"
Spike opened a bag he had stored previously next to the throne, bringing out and flicking through some paperwork held within. "Let's see. Last night in various establishments around the atrium," he informed. "Seems he intended to sneak off with his ill-gotten goods back to Equestria. The guards who caught him submitted the report this morning, since he's a foreign national. They wanted to know what to do with the pony." Annoyance flashed in Twilight's eyes, but little else.
"Have the thief sent to our embassy in Canterlot, and then work with the pony authorities there to give his punishment. There's no need to keep him here for such a petty thing."
"Will do," he confirmed, ticking off one box on the checklist he had also recovered from the bag. "I'll see that it's done."
"Good. Is there anything else?"
"Just some paperwork regarding the annually renewed trade agreement with the Crystal Empire," he stated, packing the report back into the bag while bringing out a dauntingly big stack of paper. "I thought you weren't tackling this until tomorrow, though."
"With Queen Draco visiting, I decided to move it forward a day,"
the Queen stated. Twilight's magic latched onto the paperwork as Spike passed it over. She brought it up towards her, examining the first page intently.
"Any changes?"
"Nope," he answered. "You know Cadence would have told us before if there was to be, right?"
"I do,"
she responded.
"but I like to be thorough. There could have been something my sister-in-law overlooked."
Twilight brought up a quill, beginning to work as she continued to speak.
"If that's all, I don't need you to stay, my faithful assistant. You can go.
There is nothing else, Spike decided, getting up. So I'll take my leave then. Spike gave Twilight a nod as he walked down the carpet towards the large double doors at the end. The Queen sent a message to the guards at the door over the hive mind.
I am not to be disturbed except in dire circumstances as I work. Understood?
Yes, my queen. The guards at the throne room's entrance all responded in affirmation. The large doors opened momentarily as the dragons slipped out, and then they closed again. Once the throne room was dead silent, Queen Twilight resumed on with her royal duty.